two final races defined by nature's grit, big climbs, bigger crashes, and unforgettable finishes. This is your World Cup recap of the series finale at the 2024 XTERRA World Championship. After stops in Taiwan, Greece, the USA, Belgium, Canada, and the Czech Republic, it was once again the trails of Trentino that would serve as the final stop of the World Cup series and the biggest race in off-road triathlon. It would prove to be the toughest test yet for the world's best, with a sharp drop in temperature and relentless rain in the preceding days requiring almost every tool in the arsenal to get through the trails that lay ahead. Arriving to the icy conditions, it was the formidable Felix Farissier who led the men's rankings.
My goal for this race is to win. It's the World Championship and it's also the biggest competition of the year for the World Cup. It's pretty important for me.
Despite a significant lead, the Frenchman still had his work cut out for him to fend off specialist rider Jens-Emil Sloth-Nielsen, while Arthur Serrières would need to keep the rapid Maxime Chanet at bay to hold his place in third. The defending world champion Solène Bilwan had all but wrapped up the series and would only need to keep her body and bike upright through the two races to get both hands on the title.
Yeah, the World Cup is almost secure for me, so that's a good bonus and it's not gonna change my strategy. I want to go for the win also on the short track, and my main focus really stay on Saturday's race for the World Championship.
But below the champ, Marta Mendito, Elise Patiez and Anna Zender found themselves locked in a three-way battle for the final two spots on the podium. It was a week of mental tourment for both athletes and organisers, with unpredictable mountain weather changing almost by the minute. But on Thursday morning, there would be no questions left, as the penultimate chance for series points came in the final short track race of the series.
Welcome everybody to the XTERRA World Championship. Are you ready? On your mark.
With the women starting first, Olympian Rachel Klammer and swim specialist Annette Grabmüller made quick work of the 400-metre swim through ice-cold waters. But it was Grabmüller who led the way onto the bike course, while Rachel Klammer was quickly gobbled up by series leader Solène Bilwan and the rest of the women's elite chase pack, including reigning World Cup champion Elise Patiez, Italy's own Sandra Mayr-Hofer and Swiss athlete Loane Duvesson. Holding on to the front of the race would prove to be tenuous for Annette Grabmüller, who was quickly caught and passed by determined Solène Bilwan, making it clear she wasn't just here for easy points, putting down the fastest bike split to work herself into a familiar lead, while Grabmüller did all she could to hold her wheel. The pair remained in a tight battle all the way through transition until Grabmüller eventually fell victim to the furious pace of Bilwan. Loane Duvesson made a big push in her strongest discipline, passing Patiez on the run and closing the gap on the leaders. But time was not enough for the Swiss in the fast format race, as Bilwan delivered the unmistakable message that she was in fine form for the final stop of the series.
I feel good. I mean, that's always my plan, to push hard on the short track because I feel it's open up my legs for the main race. So I like to show that I'm ready for it.
An elated Grabmüller crossed the line in second to capture her fourth podium finish of the series, while Loane Duvesson would finish in third, just steps ahead of a deflated Elise Patiez. All of the top women now having tasted the level required for the World Championship race in less than 72 hours' time. With the men ready to settle the penultimate race, few would have predicted just how tight the margins would be. Jens Roth immediately set the pace, exiting the brisk swim in the lead with Kelle Norlin in close pursuit, while favourites Felix Verissier and Maxime Chanet followed in the chase pack just seconds behind. America's Sullivan Middaugh found himself nearly 45 seconds off the lead, but with his two strongest cards still to play. On two wheels, the race quickly began to change shape. Felix Verissier made a big charge for the front, looking to put the series to bed, with Maxime Chanet staying right on his wheel. But Sloth Nielsen was in no mood to let that happen, as both the Dane and Middaugh began to climb their way to the front through 4 hard-fought laps on the bike. Heading into the run section, it was now Middaugh in the lead, with Verissier keeping the pace. The duo would battle it out stride for stride, exchanging leads along the way, until world champion Arthur Serrières joined the party, making his signature move, pushing the fastest run of the day to drop all except Middaugh and Verissier, and forcing one of the most epic finishes of all time, ending in a flat-out elbow-to-elbow sprint in a photo finish that could not illustrate any better just how competitive elite cross triathlon has become. It was Middaugh first, Verissier second, and Serrières third.
Really tough race, and then the run, Felix set a really hard pace, and I just told myself stay with him for one lap, and I knew I had a good kick, so I just kind of sat into the last 200 meters or so and then just let it go.
A huge win for the young American and a strong contender for the season's most iconic moment. But celebrations would be short-lived as focus quickly shifted to the 2024 XTERRA World Championship, and what a race it would be. On the morning of the World Championship race, crisp water and air temperatures saw the opening swim reduced to 750 metres, an unavoidable decision based on athlete safety, but also an unexpected change in the dynamics of the race. For the men, it was Jens Emil Sloth Nielsen and Sullivan Middaugh who jumped up as the favourites. Both strong on the bike and the run, the Dane and the American now posed the biggest threat to Arthur Serrières' potential World Championship three-peat and Felix Verissier's double champ aspirations.
Everybody in Molveno, are you ready for the show?
Jens Roth led out of the water, pushing hard to give himself the best possible lead after his strongest discipline had been shortened. Kelle Norlin was out second, but would ultimately DNF. Then came the chase pack, led by Jules Demar, Federico Spinazzi, with Arthur Serrières and Felix Verissier up in the mix, and already locked in a heated battle. A huge group of riders hit the first climb, containing almost every top contender except for Jens Emil Sloth Nielsen. Halfway up, Felix Verissier hit the power button and exploded the race, seemingly performing magic as half the group disappeared out the back, with only Middaugh and Serrières able to keep pace. With less of a swim deficit to deal with, Sloth Nielsen was a minute 13 back and on the charge, carving his way through the field one by one. Up front, Middaugh was able to sit on the French wheels as the trio reached the top of the climb, but now a second power move by Verissier right on the steepest section quickly dispatched the American, with now only the two long-time rivals left to fight at the front. Perhaps investing too early or too hard into the short track, Midar dropped back further, with Sloth Nielsen moving into third position as the race headed into the bike park for the first time. But the American's day went from bad to worse as he crashed on the stair section coming through town, finishing the lap in 5th behind a determined Maxime Chanet. But neither Sloth Nielsen or Chanet could hunt down the leaders, with the French pair riding the majority of the second lap together, only separating to take different lines through the mud. Forissier was first out of transition, but looking like the limit may have already been found, and with a two-time world champion close on his heels, Serrières made his move just before the first section of single track, taking the lead from Forissier and with his sights now set firmly on the win. By the time the pair exited the technical trail, Serrières had completely broken Forissier. Running the final 5K completely unchallenged, to become the first man in history to win 3 World Championships in a row.
Yeah, it's like a bit weird to win 3 times in a row. My goal was always to come here and win because it's World Championship, and this year I was really focused about to win a 3rd time, and I accomplished that, and that's super nice for me.
A bittersweet finish for Forissier that almost mirrored the drama of the 2023 World Champs, but the Frenchman will not be left empty-handed, having done more than enough to secure his title as a 2024 XTERRA World Cup winner.
I'm pretty happy to win the World Cup series. It was my first objective of the season, so yeah, I'm pretty happy about it.
Jens Emil Sloth Nielsen held 3rd and Maxime Chanet 4th. With Josiah Midar silencing any doubts that the former world champion and 15-time USA champion can still hang with the best in the game. In the women's race, the question on just about everybody's lips was whether anybody could stop Solène Bilwan from joining the exclusive three-peat club. But with wins over Bilwan already this season, it was Italy's own Sandra Meerhofer and Luan Duverson who were ready to rise to the challenge. At the sound of the buzzer, it was Rachel Klammer who led the women's field into water, finishing the 750 metres by a good margin. Annette Grabmuller was again on her heels with a chase pack of all top 3 contenders just 24 seconds behind. The climb would also prove to be a deciding section of the race for the women, with Luan Duverson and Sandra Meerhofer using the first half to drop some serious power and take control of the front. But slippery and tough conditions soon allowed the technically sound Solène Bilwan back into the fold, with the 2-time world champion dropping the hammer to take the lead, now ahead of the second place Sandra Meerhofer. A big push on the final descent saw Duverson come off on the bike, sending Bilwan and Meerhofer into a 2-way battle for the win, with the Swiss now chasing Elise Patiez in 3rd. But Bilwan had already done enough, running unchallenged through the final 10k. The now 3-time world champ celebrated with the crowd before breaking down on the finish line as she became the first ever female double champion, holding both the World Championship and World Cup titles simultaneously.
Yeah, the emotions were really deep at the finish line. I was very focused for the whole race, and then only in the last meters I could show my emotion. I like to be world champion, you know, like since the start of the season that's my goal and I achieved it. So that's just a lot of emotion, and in the next days I will have a lot too.
Sandra Meyerhofer crossed in second for the second time in the Italian-held World Championships, while Luan Dubuisson worked her way back to claim the bronze and complete the 2024 XTERRA World Championship podium. Two of the biggest titles in the sport. It's the World Championship that crowns the best on the day, while the World Cup rewards the season's most consistent athletes. But for Solène Bilwan this year, she was both. Unmatched on the day and untouchable all season long. Elise Patier's last year's World Cup champion falls to second this year, with teammate Marta Mendito bumping up into a third in a career best season for the young Italian. For the men, Felix Furissier finishes the World Cup series on top after having defended the golden jersey through 7 stops. The Frenchman has single-handedly raised the level of each of his competitors this season and will undoubtedly be out for blood from the very first race in 2025. The same goes for Jens Emil Sloth-Nielsen, who finishes the series in second and continues to pile pressure on the French with every passing race. But if there's one truth in XTERRA that has stood this test of time, it's this. Arthur Serrières, in the biggest moments, is never, ever out of the fight. Check out the channel for a look back at all the races that made the 2024 World Cup the most exciting multi-sport series on the planet, and be sure to subscribe for more content from XTERRA racing around the world.
I bet on my